Hi, Yoel. It's Sbarro. My heart is breaking to tell you this news. I can't even believe it myself. But my aunt who you interviewed, never, she passed away today. And now her memory will live on in your great story.
Earlier this year, I got a call from the legendary Maggid, Rabbi Pesach Krohn, who told me about his aunt, Mrs. Fegi Schoenig, who's affectionately known in her community in Detroit as Mora Fegi. As soon as I heard her story, I knew that I had to travel to Detroit, meet her, and hear it firsthand. 20 years ago, Mrs. Schoenig traveled to Israel to celebrate the birth of a granddaughter.
We saw the baby and everything, and then we said, okay, so let's go out to pizza. When I saw Sbarro, I said, Sbarro pizza? In America, that's not kosher. She says, here is kosher. I said, wow, let's go. So we went.
They go to Sbarro's, they order their food. Mrs. Schoenig carries the tray back to her table while Gitti, her daughter, is paying for it at the checkout counter.
And I saw a guy that looked funny. He was dressed very funny. Because he had a Jewish hat, a Yiddish hat, the man's hat, and a yellow jacket. And I don't know, pants, I don't remember. That's funny.
And all of a sudden, a huge blast goes off.
I'm going up the steps, I'm holding this tray, and all of a sudden, whoom, I hear like that.
The blast was so strong that it lifted Mrs. Schoenig off the ground, and while she was in the air, her shoes came flying off her feet.
I thought that the ovens, wherever they make the pizza in, exploded or something. So I said to a person next to me, what happened? She didn't understand. I said, Ma kara? She said, Zeh pigua. I said, Ma zeh pigua? I didn't even know the word. And she said, Zeh bomb.
As soon as she heard the word bomb, she started yelling her daughter's name, hoping that she was alive.
I'm calling Gitti. She's coming up the broken steps, and the steps were all crumbled, like from a jackhammer. We both held each other and said, I just remember saying, it's so clear. Hashem, let us live.
Gitti ran over to her mother and she said, Mom, we have to get out. We got to get out. She said, Gitti, I can't walk through the rubble. It was full of glass. I don't have any shoes. So Gitti, without thinking, picked up her mom and carried her out onto the street in Rehov Yafo. By the time they got out, there were dozens of chayalim, mishtara, Zaka members, paramedics running around trying to help people out.
Gitti can't hear anything. Mama, she's screaming. I said, what? And I said, what do you want? She says, what? She didn't hear me. Right away, the police, the chayalim, came and said, are any of you hurt? I said, my daughter can't hear. She said, oh, she has to go in this car. I said, but I want to go with her. He said, no, you can't. We have too many people that we're taking that are not so good.
Mrs. Schoenig stayed alone, stranded in Rehov Yafo without any shoes, thinking to herself, how am I going to get out? Because the bomb blasted the huge glass window outward and the entire street was covered with glass and rubble. She couldn't walk. And as she was standing there, another person who happened to be in the area, who was holding a bag with a pair of shoes inside it, saw her and came running over and said to her,
he says, here, take these shoes.
Take this pair of shoes and get out. And Mrs. Schoenig said to him,
but I want to give them back to you. You know, don't worry, you don't have to give me back. Just take the shoes. And I put them on because they're a little big on me.
Mrs. Schoenig took the pair of shoes, she put it on, and she was able to get out. 20 years later, as I was sitting in her living room, interviewing her, she went to her closet and pulled out that pair of shoes. And she said to me, for 20 years, I've kept a pair of shoes.
If something bothers me very much, I take those shoes and say, look at those shoes, that's bothering you. We don't even know how many times Hashem saves us from things we don't even know about them.
Sadly, Mrs. Schoenig passed away shortly after our conversation, but her message and her story will stay forever in my heart. And every morning, as I say the blessing, the bracha that we make on the shoes, Sha'asa li kol tzarki, I think of the lesson she taught to me, and I know in my heart that Hashem will continue to provide for me with whatever else I need.